Γεια σας. Είμαι η Αλεξάνδρα Ευθυμιάδου από την nlpgreece και συνεχίζουμε τη σειρά των ομιλιών που έχουμε σχεδιάσει για κάθε ένα stage του Leading Minds, φυσικά με κεντρικό θέμα το σύστημα NLP, τον νευρογλωσσικό προγραμματισμό. Από την πρώτη μέρα του φεστιβάλ ξεκινήσαμε να παρουσιάζουμε το εύρος των εξειδικεύσεων και της εφαρμογής σε διάφορους τομείς, όπως προσωπική αποτελεσματικότητα, επαγγελματική διάκριση, σωματική και ψυχική υγεία, οικογένεια και εκπαίδευση. Το σύστημα NLP παραμένει επίκαιρο εδώ και 50 χρόνια, καθώς εμπλουτίζεται συνεχώς με νέες προσεγγίσεις. Και αυτό οφείλεται στη θεμελιώδη αρχή του, που είναι η μελέτη της διακριτής αποτελεσματικότητας. Στα αγγλικά λέγεται modeling. Που σημαίνει ότι όπου υπάρχει αποτελεσματικότητα, τη μελετά προκειμένου να εκμεύσει λεπτομέρειες που κάνουν όλη τη διαφορά του κόσμου και να σχεδιάσει τρόπους μεταφοράς αυτής της γνώσης. Η nlpgreece, σε συνεργασία με το NLP University, αλλά και με τους δημιουργούς και τους έγκριτους συνεχιστές του, οι οποίοι το συνδυάζουν φυσικά με το επαγγελματικό τους background, βρίσκεται συνεχώς στη δεξαμενή των εξελίξεων. Ένας από αυτούς τους έγκριτους συνεχιστές, ο οποίος είναι μαζί μας σήμερα, είναι ο Wassilis Zafiris, ο οποίος θα μας παρουσιάσει το τελευταίο μοντέλο που ανέπτυξε, που λέγεται RETAC, για πρώτη φορά στην Ελλάδα. Σε λίγο θα γυρίσω στα αγγλικά, ώστε να μπορεί να μας παρακολουθήσει, διότι έχει μεν ρίζες ελληνικές, μεγάλωσε όμως στην Ολλανδία. Καταλαβαίνει κάποια λίγα ελληνικά. Φροντίζει όμως να μάθει τη γλώσσα, μας επισκέφτεται συχνά και σχεδιάζουμε μαζί νέες δραστηριότητες εδώ στην Ελλάδα, μιας και μία εξ αυτών είναι αυτό το μοντέλο που θα μας δείξει σήμερα, το RETAC. Γυρίζω στα αγγλικά. Hello, dear Vasili.
Hi there, Alex. How are you doing?
I just welcomed in Greek our participants for this stage with you.
Yes.
And of course, you could not be a part of this as you develop new approaches, given your expertise in NLP. As we all know, NLP's first principle is modeling the distinct effectiveness. Last year, in our conference dedicated in the NLP for healthcare, you presented your model on depression, okay?
Yes.
But you never stop though. You keep on producing new approaches. And we are here for the RETAC model so that we all get a taste out of it today. Now,
Yes.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Should I consider a symbolic subject, the RETAC model, as it coincides with the 14th of February, which happens to be the Valentine's Day?
No, that is not a coincidence, and because we're going to talk about relationships, obviously.
Good.
And some really important stuff about relationships, actually.
Excellent. So I could also see, going through your slides, you used red color.
Yes.
I hope this is not a coincidence too. I mean, apart from emphasizing certain points, it's still Valentine's Day, isn't it?
Definitely, it's Valentine's Day, and we have to, honor that moment. Actually, this morning I was actually in Greece. I just flew back. I just came back 20 minutes ago, and Greece was full of Valentine cakes this morning. So I still have them in my mind.
Good, Wassili, the floor is all yours. You lead the game.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay. All right. So. How can I see my presentation? There it comes, yes. Will it kick in, or do I need to do something? Let me see. Is my presentation online or not? But I cannot see it in my screen. Ah, there it is. Fantastic. Thank you so much. So, welcome everybody. My name is Wassilis Zafiris, as Alexandra told you. I'm half Greek, also half Dutch. I was born in the Netherlands, and I've been into this field for more than 25 years. What Alexandra didn't tell you, that before I actually got into this field, many years before, quite some years before that, I graduated as a physical therapist, and I specialized in neurology. I was the head of rehabilitation in an academic hospital in London for some years, and we had to do a lot of research on how the brain functions, and that was always a thing for me, to understand how the brain works. Specifically also the factual neurology. And today I'm actually going to talk about some new developments which are based on some new ideas in neurology, some ideas that are not mainstream yet, but I believe that they're going to be mainstream very soon, because these ideas and this new research is, yeah, from my perspective, going to alter the field of personal development, psychology and coaching, psychiatry, because there are some fundamental new insights actually. And today I'm gonna present to you the RETAC model, relation, emotion, therapy, and coaching, based upon this new neurological findings. And I'm going to talk about relation, as you can see, and about emotion, and about both of these items. And it's Valentine's Day, as Alexandra pointed out. So happy Valentine's Day to you all. I hope actually that after this presentation, your Valentine's Day will be a lot happier than it even is today. Because we're going to start with divorce. One of the most common things, sadly, in Western modern society. You know, divorce happens in Holland, at least 1 in 3 couples, which is a mind-boggling number. I know there are many couples who are in relationships that don't feel happy but stay in relationships anyway. And I've become really curious why that is, and how people can get so messed up in relationships, and how that can continue for a very long time without finding a real solution or resolution. So last year there was an interesting article published of a research study. By the way, I'm not going to give you all the background of these studies right now because we don't have enough time. If you come to my seminars, or if you contact me, I would be glad to give you background information. For now, you're just going to have to take my word for some of the things that I'm saying. So, there was some interesting research about quite a big, significant group of people. They followed for 6 years, and they actually looked at how people had arguments and what the divorce rate was in the group. And then they looked at, so, you know, are there some criteria for divorce between people, for separation? And they actually did. They did find some core criteria. Because when people don't feel that they're understood, or they don't feel supported, or when they don't feel loved, then there's 100% score of divorce within 3 years. But there's one important factor that needs to be added in then, because what needs to happen is that in the first 3 minutes of an argument, it needs to escalate. So when people actually feel that they don't feel understood, which is actually quite common between people, you know, how often do you have that feeling with partners or friends or parents, you know, like they don't understand me? Even when you're, let's say, in your 40s or 50s, you can still have the feelings that your parents don't understand you, you know? And you can also sense the importance of that, the importance of feeling understood. And And obviously the same goes for feeling supported. It's like, you know, when you make a decision, let's say your partner wants to go that way and you want to go that way, and if your partner supports you in the decisions that you make, that is really a great feeling. But it's not just a great feeling, it seems to be a fundamental feeling for people. It seems to be a really important feeling for people to have. And the last one, people need to feel loved. And you know, and feeling loved comes from very small things like appreciation, but also from bigger things like intimacy and connection and wanting somebody and all those things. So all these feelings, we know that they are important, but they seem to be critical for divorce actually. So what can we learn from this?
Een optie is wc, keizersgracht. Wil je deze?
Something strange is happening. My phone starts to talk to me. I'm so sorry. So what can we learn from this? Well, on a behavioral level, we can actually learn that it's important to mark our words when we have an argument. Because when those first 3 minutes are critical and you don't want an escalation in an argument, you might want to, you know, look for words that don't escalate. So we can learn from that on a behavioral level. But there's one, you know, trick there that seems to be quite difficult. When there's tensions between lovers, when there's feeling of disappointment, when there are feelings of neglect, feelings of not being understood or supported or loved, then at the same time it's also much more difficult to mark our words. So we have to look at a more structural solution. And I think that's really important to do. And the more structural solution is actually in the words of those 3 criteria. Because people say they need to feel understood. And all people say they need to feel supported. And everybody says they want to feel loved. Nobody says they want to think loved or think understood or have words for support. No, you want to have those, you want to have feelings of being understood and supported and loved. And that's where things become structurally very interesting, because what we feel seems to matter. So I got into a lot of questions. I've had some very nice and some very disappointing relationships myself. You may have had those yourself, and so I'm not new to this. To misunderstandings and disappointments and not feeling understood and so in relationships. Actually, you know, I've had my share of relationship therapy, even though I've been in this field for 25 years. And longer actually, but in the field of NLP and training and personal development and coaching, I've done a lot of things. But even I noticed colleagues of mine, quite a few colleagues of mine, find it challenging to have nurturing and loving relationship and deal with all the hardship that a relationship can bring. So there are questions that kept my mind going. So why is it so challenging for us to do the right things when there's some kind of crisis in a relationship? And with the right things, I mean, why do we not yell at? We know we shouldn't be yelling at each other, but why do we do that? We know we shouldn't panic, you know, when a person does something strange, but we still do. So why is it so challenging to do the right things? And you know, what stops us from applying, you know, for example, coaching, communication tools that we've learned in courses and maybe in relationship therapy, you know, like nonviolent communication. I remember years ago, when I studied nonviolent communication, I thought it was excellent. And a lover of mine thought it was excellent, and we were both practicing. But when it really mattered, we both couldn't nonviolent communicate. We just couldn't. Something else seemed to trigger us. both of us. You know, things like in great courses, you can actually learn how to see other people's perspective. How can you see the world through somebody else's eyes? How can you see the world through your children's eyes? You know, like, you know, but when you're annoyed or stressed, it's really challenging for us to look at the perspective of somebody else. We actually, even when somebody asks us, we're not always willing to do it. In actual fact, I see many clients every week, and I see loads of people, you know, who find it very, very difficult to look at the perspective of somebody else. So, you know, like, let's say you've been to systems therapy or family constellation therapy, if you know that, you know, you can have really profound experiences, very emotional and very insightful. But again, I've been into those fields also for 25 years. And also those changes in the therapy session are no guarantee that when it really matters between lovers, that they can actually change their behaviors. So why is that? I find that one of the most important questions that we have. What is holding us back to apply what we learn in therapy? Why? What is holding us back? Why do issues repeat in different relationships? You have one relationship, you know, the person goes, and a similar issue starts to emerge in the next relationship. Why is that? Why do we blame our partners? Why do we say to our partners, because of the fact that you do this, I feel bad. You hurt my feelings. You shouldn't be doing that. You should be nicer. All these blame kinds of questions and issues. Why do we keep thinking, like, all of us know that if you would only listen to me, then everything would be fine. It's so simple. If you would only recognize what's important to me, everything would be fine. I have this couple, you know, they're doing really well now, I can very gladly say, but they came to me like, you know, they had, this is a family composed of two families, you know, and this lady, with this gentleman, he has 3 children of a previous relationship, and he has a really good connection with his ex-wife, really good. But that's very nice because they have 3 young children, and if they have a really good connection, you know, that could be really useful in a separation. But the thing is, every time when his ex-wife, when they have contact, his new wife gets a panic attack. And he just goes, why? What's going on? I'm not in love with my ex. I actually left my ex. What's going on? And whatever he says, she gets more and more panic every time they are in touch with each other. She used to, now it's changed, gladly. And she asked him many times, why don't you just have no contact with your ex? Why don't you have, you know, less contact? Why don't you tell your ex that I feel bothered by her contact? And he just goes, are you crazy? It's good for me and the children to have good contact. So she's thinking, it's so simple for you to please me. And he's thinking, you're crazy. So how can we feel understood, supported, and loved? That is a really important question. But before we get into that, I actually want to bring up something else, because the impact of relationship issues, relational issues, is huge. The more I work with this topic, the more I think that a lot of issues around personal development, around therapy, around work, might have the fundament of relationship issues, of not feeling understood, not feeling supported, not feeling loved. But these areas are not talked about, because if you do relationship coaching or job coaching or something, you know, people don't talk about their relationship. But it could well be something that's hidden general dissatisfaction, not feeling good about yourself, there could well be some relationship issues beneath it. And I would all urge you to think about that for a moment. So if you look at the social readjustment rating scale, a proven, a very scientific method that Holmes and Ray use to classify the top most stressful events in a human's life that could result in illness. So what they've done, they've looked at many people for many years and say, well, this is a top 10 of stressful events, and they could potentially lead to illness. So I just wanted to show you this to get some idea of relationship in this list. Because if you look at the list of 10 items, 4 of those items are related to relationship. Divorce is considered, it's number 2 on the list, is considered one of the most stressful events in a person's life. A separation, marriage even, think about it. Marriage is considered one of the most stressful events in a person's life. Hello? And marriage reconciliation, so working to get back together. So the importance of having more tools and insights around how we can deal with relationships and what's going on there, for me, is evident. And I've turned it into my next mission to actually create a world full of Valentine lovers that can actually really get along. Well, I like to think big, so the importance of feelings. Lovers touch each other's deepest feelings. When you think about it, when you meet somebody you like, where there's some kind of click, something feels that there's some kind of connection, the person could just look at you, or you could see somebody's brown eyes or blue eyes or whatever, or the smile of somebody, and that can just touch really deep feelings, beautiful feelings. But when things turn sour, we can touch each other's worst feelings. So how can something that felt good, like you may have the experience really in love. I've had the experience in love for years. Really, I'm serious. And then slowly but surely, horrible feelings emerge. How does that work? Well, it has to do with feelings. So there is a new science of emotions, and I told you before, it's actually not just a theory. There's been a lot of neuroscientific research done on how emotions influence us. But that's very different than we've assumed until today, because our brain seems to function quite differently. And in order to get some insights, I want to take you along into this new science of emotion and give you just a very basic steps, but enough to get an understanding of what goes on inside of us and what happens with us and somebody we love or hate. So we have to ask ourselves 3 important questions. So the first question is, and I'd like your quick answer, so maybe you can give me a quick answer in your chat box, just really quickly. Are we born with emotions? I'm going to give you 15 seconds, and maybe I can hear some answers. Are we born with emotions? Are there any answers there, or shall I just go on? Oh, maybe we can have those answers at the end. So, to give you the obvious answer, actually it is, oh, yeah? Well, the actual answer is no. And this may sound really strange for us, because the whole idea that we are born with emotion implies that we have areas in our brains where our emotions are located. But with this new research, it actually turns out that we do not have these areas. I know this sounds as a shock, but it is actually true. So the second thing, and for now we have, considering the time that we have together, we have to think about, if that is true, let's just take this as an assumption. If that is true, then the next question we have to ask ourselves, which is really important, what is the most important function of our brain? And I just want to give you a couple of seconds to think about that. And just, give yourself an answer for that. What is the most important function of our brain? And maybe you can put something in the chat box, if you have an idea. But what is the most important function of our brain? So loads of people think survival. Well, could be. But actually, what is the most important function of our brain is the following. And if you take one thing, but I'm guessing you're going to take a lot more from this presentation, but if you would take one thing from this presentation, take this thing. Because the most important function of our brain is to predict what's going to happen. And just think about that. When I first heard that, so about 4 years ago now, my mind was blown. Literally, I was like, my God, this is so true. Suddenly, so many things clicked. And I realized that this explains a lot about our behavior. Let me explain what I mean with this. Before we do that, sorry, we're going to go to the third question. Because if these two things are true, if we are not born with emotions, and the most important function of our brain is to predict what's going to happen, then we have to ask ourselves a really important question, which is how then are emotions made? How are they made? Because they seem to be made instead of a function of our brain. Well, from a physiological point of view, this is actually a spelling mistake I saw this morning, which I need to, it's not an F but a PH, but forgive me. From a physiological point of view, think about the following. Our brain functions like this. Let's say you climb, you walk somewhere and then suddenly you go running a little bit. Yeah? Just imagine for a moment. And when you go running, your heart rate increases, it goes up. Yeah? Well, as it turns out, there are sensors in our body. There are some sensors in our body that seem to measure changes in our physiology. Just changes. So this is a new sensory system, actually. I won't bother you with the name, but just trust me on it for now. So there's a sensory system that only registers changes in our body and also changes in our heart rate. So now you would ask yourself, why is that important? Now think about the following. In our bodies right now, your body and my body, there are billions of processes going on. Billions. And it seems to be that the biggest part of our brain is not involved in thinking, reasoning, understanding. No, the biggest part of our brain, probably 70 to 80% of our brain, is only monitoring these billions of processes inside our body. Does that sound logical? To me it does. But they've shown it now. They've actually shown that it is actually doing that. So it's monitoring all these changes. So let's say you go running, suddenly your heart rate increases, your brain notices the changes in heart rate. So why is that important? Well, it is important because of the following. If your heart rate increases, your next heartbeat, the coming heartbeat, needs more energy than the previous heartbeat. Yeah? So it starts in the body. So what happens is the brain needs to calculate how much energy the next heartbeat needs. Why would you say? Well, if it calculates the energy after the next heartbeat has beaten, the heart dies. So the brain needs to calculate the right amount of energy before the amount of energy is needed. Just think about that. When I read those researches, I was like, my God, this changes everything. So think about the brain. Our brain calculates a prediction from that sensory information. It just calculates. It just goes, oh my God, it's changing, and predicting, before the event is happening. Because if it would be too late, if it would be after, it would be too late. We would all collapse continuously and probably die. And step 3 is we act upon that prediction. So now we're going to go one step further. Think about this. Think about social and psychological changes. So if we are not born with emotions, we are definitely born with feelings in our bodies. So we can feel tension and pressure, and when something opens up or something closes inside of us, these are all feelings that we have inside our body. But as I said, we are not born with emotions, so it means that our emotions are taught in our cultural systems, which means our countries, the way our country deals with emotions, our family, our brothers and sisters, our fathers and mothers, our schooling system. But what we do have is feelings. So let me give you an example. I have a 10-year-old wonderful daughter, and now she actually is becoming more and more verbal about what she's feeling. But until some years ago, maybe even 1 or 2 years ago, there could be a moment like this, and maybe if you have children, you all know this. At breakfast, you know, you would make some nice breakfast for your child. You love your child, you want to give her the best, you know the feeling. And she sits down, and then she says, and she's not eating, so as a parent you say, are you not hungry? Is there something wrong with the food? And then she says, no, Daddy, I have a strange feeling in my stomach. Okay, and then as a parent you go, would you like something else? Can I give you some yogurty or something else? And she says, no. And then you go, hey, is there something wrong? Because we think in emotions, yeah, because we are grown up. And then most children, when they're that age, say, no. Why? Because they don't have words for those feelings yet. They are still learning to find the meaning of these feelings. But what they do know is that something in the body associates going to school with a stomach ache. So why is that? Because our brain attributes meaning to changes in how we feel. Because for the brain, the changes in our stomach are just physiological changes. They are not emotions or something. The brain just goes, hey, something changes in the stomach, that's strange. I need to predict what's going to happen. So now let's say, if your child, let's say, has been bullied by friends, yeah, the day before. And suddenly school feels a little bit unsafe. She doesn't have the words yet. She has some unsettling feelings in her stomach. The brain kind of calculates, what does that mean? But what the brain does, it actually just goes back to the experience and says, going to these girlfriends is not so nice anymore. So what happens? The brain is calculating a prediction from all that sensory information. And it could calculate something like, oh my goodness, I will be rejected again. They will hurt me again. They will bully me again. So, but this prediction is unconscious. Like those feelings, they're unconscious. We don't have them consciously, they're just in our system. So what happens? What happens is we have an emotion. And we have to act upon that. So think about this. emotions are not the beginning of our feelings. They are the end result of this process. So, the interesting thing, it turns out that when we have great feelings, we make great predictions. Do you know that feeling? You meet somebody you like and the person smiles at you, and you go, wow, that feels really nice. You're going away. That feels good. And you unconsciously start to make predictions. You kind of go, well, maybe the person likes me, which is actually a prediction. Or maybe the person wants to have a date with me. Hey, that's a prediction. Or maybe, should I be so bold and call the person? That is a prediction. But it could also turn out that when we have bad feelings, we can make terrible predictions. So when you wake up in the morning and you feel bad because you slept bad, you make predictions that could be, you know, bad. You could kind of go, oh my God, it's going to be a tough day. Oh my God, my partner is not going to support me. I feel horrible. My partner will not understand me when I feel like this. Something like that. So there's some really important new information we can deduct from how our brain, our emotional brain works. And I'm going to give you 6 laws. There's some more, but these are really important ones to give you some more understanding of how our emotional brain works. The first law of the emotional brain is that reality for the emotional brain is not the reality out there. It's not what your partner is doing or saying, or what your father is saying or doing, or your mother. No, reality for your brain is what it's predicting. Why is that important? Well, because the brain is predicting from physiological changes in the body. So the brain is trying to balance the physiological changes in the body. The brain is not interested in the outside world. Our consciousness is. So we think, yeah, why doesn't my lover give me support now? No, that's our consciousness. But your brain is just predicting what's going to happen. So the second law of the emotional brain is that the outside world is irrelevant. The outside world is irrelevant for the emotional brain. There's that, and we all know that because, you know, somebody, you could feel really hurt. Somebody could say genuinely sorry, and you could still feel hurt. You could, oh, you don't mean it. Well, the person could say, I actually do mean it. But it doesn't mean that you feel that. So for the emotional brain, the outside world is irrelevant. Another interesting law, law 3. The brain does not care where the feelings come from. The brain is not going, oh, where does the stomach ache come from? No, the brain is only monitoring the changes in the stomach. The brain is not monitoring all the conclusions that you have made unconsciously. So, you know, there's no relationship between the changes in the body and what's actually happening outside for the brain, which is quite strange when you think about it. Because for us, we constantly try to create some cause and effect relationship. Oh, because this happened, I feel like that. And because that happened, I feel like that. For the brain, it doesn't work like that. The brain uses, which is number 4, the brain uses past feelings to quickly predict and generalize meaning. Let me explain. When we grow up from 0 to, let's say, 14, 15, 16 years, our parents and the culture around us gives us billions of experiences of what everything means. How you need to behave to be a good girl, to be a good boy, when you're a bad girl or a bad boy, when you are rejected, when you belong, when you can feel understood, when you can feel supported, when you can feel loved. We get billions of non-verbal and verbal information about what all these things mean. But what happens inside the body, the brain seems to keep templates of basic feelings of rejection, basic feelings of understanding, basic feelings of feeling loved, basic feelings of feeling belonged. And it seems that whenever we have similar feelings right now in this moment, our brain immediately goes back to past experiences. Why? So it can quickly predict what's going to happen. Because that's the most important function of the brain, remember? So now a really important one that we all know. What we feel overrules what we know. Yeah. So you probably know you shouldn't be drinking too much, but you feel something different. You probably know you shouldn't be yelling at your partner. You probably know you shouldn't say those words that hurt your partner. You probably know that your emotions are exaggerated. You probably know all these things. But all the things that you know don't matter, because what we feel overrules what we know. And that completely changes the game. Because there are so many therapies, cognitive behavioral therapy and so on, based on the principle that if we grow what we know and understand, we will slowly get a hold of what we feel. But actually it turns out that it doesn't work that way. What we feel overrules what we know. So, lovers touch each other's most beautiful feelings. And lovers create the most beautiful prediction from those feelings. But at times when feelings becomes bad, lovers start to predict horrible feelings, like the woman with the husband and the ex-wife. The woman got panic attacks when they got connected. And she came to me, she's like, I don't understand myself, I just feel completely panicked. And why isn't he stopping to have all these conversations with his ex? And the question of course is, if she's panicking like that, what is she predicting? What's going on? Well, she's probably predicting unconsciously a horror scenario from the past about what's going to happen. But it's so quick and so unconscious that she consciously has no clue that that is happening. The only thing she experiences is emotion. Big, big emotions. And the thing is, our partners does the same. Because when this went on for a while, her husband, started to have bad emotions himself. He started to retract. And he was actually predicting that he couldn't cope with her being hysterical. And he went back to experiences in the past, but also did not know about this. So now two people start to have bad feelings, and two people are making predictions about those feelings. But two people are not responding to each other. They are responding to each other's predictions. So with RETAG, Relation Emotion Therapy and Coaching, I developed a way to change the core feelings, the feelings of how they started when they became a template. So that your predictions about all these concepts, like feeling rejected, feeling understood, feeling supported, feeling loved, so that all these feelings can be updated and can be changed. So in such a way that you can actually make predictions that are healthier for you, for your lover, and that you can create emotions that you long for in the relationship. That you can actually satisfy these deep feelings that we all need. So how does this work? And maybe we can enhance the slide a little bit, just to show you how this cycle works. So it starts at the top. There's an event in the world. And that creates changes in our body, sensory changes. If you go to the right, here. And those changes in our body are connected and matched with other than conscious emotional memories that we have. And they create other than conscious predictions. And we respond to our predictions. Yes, thank you. We respond to our predictions. And then we experience emotion. We are not responding to the person in front of us. We are responding to our predictions. And that is a game changer in relationship therapy or couples therapy. So, I just want you to think about the following question for a moment. Think of an experience with a partner or a child or a relationship, an intimacy, where you mispredicted. So you made a mistake in your prediction. Just think about that. You didn't even want to say that, you know, but maybe. So something happened and you got, oh, I know what you want, blah, blah, blah. But you actually mispredicted. You were wrong. So just think of an instant when you actually mispredicted. And I want you to notice for a second how you feel when you mispredict. And I'd like you to think of an instance where a lover or a partner or a father or a mother mispredicted about you. Oh, you are such and such a person. And you go, no, I'm not. You know, no, I'm not. When somebody mispredicted about you. Take a real example for a moment. And notice how you feel when somebody mispredicts. Because our predictions have a huge impact on each other. And predictions that others make about us have a huge impact on us. It completely changes the way we feel. So the thing is, from my experience, in all these years that I've been doing, there are not very many therapies or techniques or methods that work directly with those feelings. I'm not talking about stretching techniques or yoga or something. No, actually literally work with those feelings that are related to the predictions. So this is your opportunity. You could work with those feelings directly, with your own feelings or with feelings of people who have relationship issues. You can actually learn to work with emotional issues in a profound and a new way. I find it profound. I'm not exaggerating, because I have experiences with my clients working with this new method I developed that are just mind-blowing. And I've never experienced this before. So the question is, would you like to have a healthy relationship? This one or the next one? Would you like the next Valentine's Day to be a very happy one? Oh, I'm going the wrong way, I'm sorry. So what we're doing for the first time in Greece in 2022, we're planning a little bit on a European seminar, a big one, where there's a couple of things are going to happen. We're going to plan a retreat. We are planning a retreat for couples or people who want to have better relationship in the future. So you can join us together with your partner. You can join us without your partner, or you can join us even if you don't have a partner but want to work on your relationship issues. But the thing is, this is not just a retreat, it's also a seminar. Because what we're going to do, at the same time, is we're going to invite coaches and therapists and psychologists and psychiatrists and systems therapists and all these people, so they can learn how to become foundational practitioners with relation emotion therapy and coaching, how to apply this in a real life setting. So there's going to be loads of professionals there, but also people who want to change, and all of these people are going to help each other. And the idea is that I will be the facilitator, and everybody can bring in their issue, and we can work on those issues together. And at the same time, all these therapists and coaches and psychologists can learn how to become and how to work with this method. So this is going to be quite spectacular, I think. So the question you want to ask yourself, do I wish profound change in limiting feelings that I have? Because there are loads of limiting feelings that we have that, kind of disconnects us from others. If you feel rejected easily, that could be a real big problem. If you could feel emotionally hurt easily, that could be a really big problem in connection. Or if you're verbally abusive, you might want to look at what's going on with those feelings and your predictions. If you panic that your partner could go off and find another person, you might want to look at those feelings. Would you like to change the repetitive issues that you have with your partners? I really want it, and I can actually gladly say I have because of this. And I see many of my clients who experience the same thing for the first time in their lives. But the most fundamental question is, would you like to feel understood? Would you like to feel supported? Would you like to feel loved? Just imagine feeling like that and then connecting with somebody else. How would that be? So please join us in our RETAC, Relation Emotion Therapy and Coaching Retreat Seminar, and together make some incredible changes in how we relate to each other. Thank you so much. And if there are any questions, any remarks, any ideas, please ask. And if you would like to know anything about the retreat seminar, please connect with Alexandra, because she can help you out with all of the questions that you have.
Thank you, Wassili. That was fantastic. Very insightful information, really deep and science-based, of course. We know that NLP is supported a lot with neuroscientific results. And thank you for that. And yes, we will organize in 2022 with Wassili this retreat on RETAC model.
Fantastic. So, what I was wondering, Alexandra, are there any questions that came up for you when you saw my presentation? Because this is the first time that you see it as well. Is there anything that you kind of go, oh, there's something I want to know? Or
actually, it was not questions. It was aha moments. It was aha moments. Aha!
Yeah. I had exactly the same.
And I'm looking forward really to get deeper into this RETAC model when we will do this. We will organize this retreat this summer.
Okay.
Thank you, Wassili. You were fantastic. Really insightful. Science.
Thank you so much. It was lovely to do this, and we're always connected. So.
Oh yes. We are connected anyhow because we have to organize all this. It's on
exactly.
the way.
Well, good luck with the rest of the program, and give my love to the whole team over there.
Thank you, Wassili. Thank you.
Bye bye. Yasu.